All right, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, so we are looking at let me say, the last aspect of ethical hacking. And this we engage us for approximately, let's say, 3 weeks. Though we still have a section which is mobile phone security, but it's not as if it's not a complex aspect. It's just to give us some information about how we can relate some of these approaches on mobile device in terms of securing our devices as well. So today we just look at the introduction to web application penetration testing. Just an intro. Within the next 1 hour, we are done with today's assignments. Introduction to web application penetration testing, which is also known as web application hacking, or let's say web application ethical hacking. So let's look at the overview of this section. Let's look at the overview of this section. And that will inform us what we are expected to learn. So in this session, we'll be going over how you can hack into a website / web applications using a variety of tools and tactics. So depending on the tools that we choose to use, so I may not use all the tools, but out of all the tools I'm going to mention, we are going to use one. So specifically, we will be going over the OWASP top 10 web apps vulnerabilities. We'll also look at web application scanning. You see, before the bad guys try to penetrate into any website, they will first of all scan. That was what we treated under reconnaissance. They will scan to check for vulnerabilities. They will check whether there are loopholes. So why you, as an ethical hacker or white hat hacker, is learning this process so that you know what they do to outsmart them, number one, so that you put certain things in order in your website, or you advise your web developer to ensure that certain things are properly what? Secure, because there are ways, like we are going to learn now, how these guys can scan and check to see if there are loopholes before they launch their attacks. So we also look at how they usually perform what we call SQL injection. What are the vulnerabilities that gives them access to inject certain malicious activities or file into your database, which is the SQL, to corrupt it. They can compromise your database and end up having access to your sensitive information. So we'll look at all that so that you can be guided, so that you can advise the organization you are ensuring their website security on what to put in place. We look at cross-site scripting, XSS. We also look at directory traversal vulnerabilities and the contents injection. So that is what we will be looking at under the web app penetration testing. Now, one of the main reasons why, no matter how we are learning this ethical hacking, we should focus on web app penetration testing is because most organizations today have all their major software integrated in their websites. So which means that, like bank now, most of their softwares are integrated to their website. So we need to ensure that such a place is secured. So before we proceed, disclaimer. So anything that you are going to learn from this session is purely for educational purpose and is meant to be used for ethical hacking only. So we are not promoting unethical hacking. We are simply talking about what? Legal activities, not offensive. That is why there's a limit to what we can do, because we are not actually doing it to offend anyone. Instead, we are learning this entire process to ensure that we secure our end, we defend our end from the hackers, right? So let's start with the OWASP top 10 web application vulnerability. You know, we installed one of our machine OWASP the other time, right? What was the full meaning of the OWASP? Let's start from there if you can still remember. What was the full meaning of the OWASP? Can anybody still remind us? The OWASP. Okay, if you cannot remember, use your ChatGPT and tell us the full meaning of OWASP. Let us research it together since you have forgotten. Has anybody gotten it? Open web application what? Security what? Project. Is it project? Open web application what? Security. So this is actually a platform that has been built for almost everybody that learn what? Web application what? Hacking. So most of the systems have been made porous for you to practice web app hacking. So let's look at the top 10. What are the top 10? And this record we have put together since 2017. That is when we prioritize this as the top 10. And up to now, this has been the priority. So the top 10, we are talking about aspects of web that you should perform penetration testing on. And that also suggests to us an aspect of web application you should ensure their security. And that will also inform us the top 10 attacks that the bad guys or the black hat hackers perform. The first one is the injection, which is the SQL injection. This one is common. You see them injecting some malicious file or script into your website that will return them certain your login detail. You know, every back end of a website that holds the database, which is the SQL. How many of us know that it's usually passworded? Right? It's not like the front end that you access freely. You are not expected to gain access to someone back end without what? Having the password, the login detail. But what we are saying here is that there are ways the black hat hackers will inject certain word scripts into your website database and end up compromising it, that they can lay hold on what? Sensitive information. They can steal your back-end data and use it for malicious purpose. So you, as a professional, you need to be aware there are ways, and that is why this aspect is recommended for you to learn as a cybersecurity expert or ethical hacker. Hacking that is legal, hacking with permission. For example, after learning this, if a company do not permit you, you are not expected to run any of these scripts on a website that you are not permitted to. So when a company employs you, automatically you have access to check the security strengths of their website. That is why it is called penetration testing. So you are actually finding out whether the bad guys can penetrate into the websites, so that once you are able to discover these vulnerabilities, then you can now raise alarm, and then they can now inform their web developer to tighten up what? The security, to avoid the intruders breaking into it. So even the SQL injection is as a result of the developer not, configuring the back end very well, that they will take advantage of it. Broken authentication. When the authentication is not properly set up. For example, now website seems to be stronger now because most of these hosting company, they now have two verification method now, that you have to install an authenticator in your mobile phone. So whenever you want to log into the website, for example, now if you want to log into my client's dashboard for you to be able to access the back end of my website, it's going to redirect you to that authentication app. And that authentication app will have captured the barcode. So if you are not the owner, you cannot break through. So websites are now secure, so nobody can easily break into the client dashboard, because the client dashboard can offer you access to the back end without logging in with password. So what some of these guys does is just to make sure that they break into the client's dashboard. From there, they access the cPanel, and then of course they will gain access to your database. So insecure deserialization, all these are what they take advantage of. Insufficient login and monitoring. So these are the top 10 OWASP. These are the top 10 attack that website faces, that you must know how it happens so that you can block them. So let's quickly start with web application scanning. How do we scan our website to check whether some of the apps there are vulnerable or whether they are secure? Because we are going to get feedback whether they are secure or not. So the same thing the bad guy does. So they will run different types of scanning on your website and see if there are loopholes that they can take advantage of. I hope I'm communicating. So much like the regular penetration testing, you must first gather information on your target web app website before you can attack. That sounds like reconnaissance, right? But this type of recognizer is what type? Is it active or passive? It's going to be active because you have access to the person's URL, right? Before you can gather the information. So we can achieve this using variety of scanning tools. So that is exactly what I am going to cover in this section, how to use those tools to scan a particular website. It could be the website you are employed to secure, or you want to perform the penetration testing on, so that you'll be able to get some details as regard to the level of its vulnerability or it's secure. So we can achieve this using a variety of scanning tools that we can use on our Kali words Linux machine. These tools are already there. These tools are already there. That is why we refer to the Kali Linux as what? The hacker itself, because it came with what? The pre-built what? Hacking tools. That is how we define it when we started. So these web application scanners can take and what? IP address and automate scanning to discover potential what? Vulnerabilities. All this scanning app or script or tools need is the IP address of what? The website or the domain or the domain server or the domain name or the server address of that particular website. Are you done writing? All right. So now the OWASP, these are the tools. These are the tools. These are the two tools that most time we use. So we are going to use one. And then let's see how it goes if I'll be able to touch. Well, you have to choose the one you are conversant with. So we have the OWASP ZAP and what? Bob. So once we hear any of these two, you know that they are for web app what? Hacking. So two very similar web application scanning tools that we can use to gather information are ZAMP and what? Bomb. These have very similar functionality, but also have some individual features that separate them. They typically can discover the same information and perform the same functions, but some people prefer some over one over what? The other. So it is worth nothing, but Bob has a paid edition with more feature, while ZAP is what? 100% what? Free. So that is the reason why I want to choose ZAP. The other one you have to pay for you to be able to access certain features. So that, You said? No, I said that is why I'm choosing the ZAP, because it's 100% what? Free. Since it's just for learning. So when you hear some individual that will spend money to buy scripts, it's the paid version that they are what? Are looking for more efficiency. Once you are done writing, you let me know so that we can proceed. Are we good? So let's quickly look at the process. So you are going to on your Kali now. Let me give us some time to get there. So want to see how we can deploy that very tool, which is the ZAP, how we can use it to scan a website you want to perform the penetration testing on. So if you cannot find the ZAP already installed, so you can write your bash code or script to install it. Don't write sudo apt install ZAP proxy. That is ZAPPROX 1P. Sudo apt install ZAPROXY. That is ZAP proxy. Proxy. X like this. Look at it. X like this. Y. Yeah, and the ZAP proxy. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So now, so let's search again. I believe you should be able to see it now. Let's search again, and once you can find it, click on it. You should have an interface like this, and then click on that option that says, no, I do not want to persist this section. Is that what you have on your screen as well? It's still loading. Okay, click on that option. Look at what you have on the screen. So click on it. Please follow the instruction correctly. And I hope we are documenting our steps. So do we have an interface like this now? Yes, you see that. It's not showing what? Let me see how. Is it the same thing everybody on the showing? This is how it should show. Is it different people installed or what? Okay, it's asking to update, have you? Because you must see this, because after this now, you will have this where you enter your IP. Yes, this is how you only say what? Welcome. No, we are on the same page, don't worry. I just want their own to show this and that. Do the upgrade now. I think it's showing now, eh? Now, so if you are here now, remember we talked about all you need is the IP address. So enter the IP address of your target machine. How many target machine do you have there? You have OWASP, you have what? Metasploitable, right? Now, if you have your Metasploitable, go and check the IP address of it. You still remember how to check it now. Go and launch it, get the IP address, and then add it to the place where you have URL and click on select. So which means that if it is the company website now, it is their IP address or the URL. You know, remember that if you don't have, in the case of company, you may not have the IP address. The IP address may be with the developer. Because once you host a website, they give you the URL and the IP address. But most time we don't give the client what? The IP address. We give them just the URL. So which means that you type what? www. what? The domain name here. If where you don't have the IP address. So what I want you to do now, in that case, we can search for which website are you going to search for NIT? Because it must be an authorized website. Well, no, sorry. Let's work within our what is it called? Our virtual box. So let's get the IP address of Metasploitable as one of the target machine. Then I click, then you see it scanning all this information. From there, you know the ones that are vulnerable and not. So let me allow us to. Okay, so once you enter your IP address of the website you want to perform the penetration testing on, you have all these informations that are given to you. So I wanted to check if you can see, though all those data, they are coming from the website, all those data you are seeing. So if you do not have access, let's say the other end is locked, you won't be able to synchronize those information. So you can just select those folder and be seeing what you have in them. So what we are seeing here, they are information that are coming from that website URL. Yes, I'm just asking when it's finished loading. You'll be able to exploit all the information. So just to end the class so that you can wait for it. So you can, all this is where you open up the file. So you are going to see the folders in the back end section of the website. All these folders now, they are folder from there. So check whether while it's still loading, you can exploit anyone or you will have to wait. We have been able to learn how to scan the website. Look up. Now we have been able to know how to scan for the information. Now look at what I have here. From this particular one that I click on, this is one of the app. All these one are, they are the app from the website. So let's say you want to check for this particular one. What I have there is HTTP. That is the Metasploitable IP address /DVWA. So now, once we have access to that, if you can see it, HTTP -/ the IP address, then /DVWA. If you can find it, that is one of the app, for example. So as I click on the app, out of all the apps that have been scanned, that is why I'm getting this particular address here. So but what we want to learn now is this. Let's assume that now you have been able to scan and you are able to find what? Different app. Let's say this particular one now, you want to check it. So what you will do now is that you now go back to the Kali icon and open a web browser. And then when you open the web browser, you will now enter this. So this is what we are looking for there now. You now enter on the browser, that will take you to the website back end. This is the website back end now. These are the uploaded file. So which means that you have been able to access here the back end of this website. So what you do now is that just take this now, even as it's still scanning, let's assume that it's there. Go to the browser within Kali and enter this code. And then let's see whether you are going to get the same information. So if you are able to get it, it means you are able to scan it, or it's part of what your ZAP scanned. But if you are not able to get it, it means you have to say allow the scanning process to continue. Yes.
You know, it is the metasploitable IP address that has given you access to this information. So part of what we have by your left-hand side is one of them that I click on. I think it's directory browsing something that generated that URL of that particular app. So you now go to browser as if you want to synchronize the information. You want to access that app. That's why the moment I type it in a browser, and then it took me to the website back end. All these are uploaded information. Even you are a web developer, all this is now, we know them. A developer knows this. This is a folder for the CSS. All the code beautifying, coloring, the entire website, they are stored here. That's for username and password. Which means that if it's asking for username and password, then you will not enter under user, right, admin, then under password, type password. Under user, enter admin, then password, enter password, all in lowercase. Okay, that is what, yes. When you enter the password, this is what you got, right? Okay, let me see. I think I should have something similar to it. Let me see your own. Perfect. So that is where we are going to stop. That's the first assignment. So we have been able to know how to scan, which is the first step. So the next class, we will continue from directory buster. Directory buster. That is where we will continue from in our next class. So you can write this topic down. We continue from here in our next meeting. Thank you for joining.